All right, everybody. So let's start with the webinar. Before we do, though, let me remind you that we will take questions related to the subject matter via the Q&A function of this Ring Central video conference. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. I will be moderating that question period after the presentation. I would urge all to send your questions related to this webinar subject matter only. Should you have questions related to other subject matters that are from maintenance care, but other parts of maintenance care, I would encourage you to contact our support team directly via a chat, email, or a call directly. Without further ado, let me introduce you to your trainer for today, Phil Boone. Phil is a product specialist at GenXscore, and he'll be guiding you through the webinar on sensors. Phil, take it away.
Thank you for the intro, Dino. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Again, my name is Phil. I've been with GenXscore a few years now. Today's subject matter is going to be get censored. We've been offering connectivity for temperature sensors since 2016. What this is going to allow you to do is place wireless sensors all around your facility, and you're going to get automatic readings from said sensors. Each one will have the ability to set minimum and maximums to receive alerts if they do go out of that set range, right? Right now, typically what we're seeing, all of the temperature readings are done manually. So you have an employee that's walking around the building, potentially missing some, as well as it's really costly having them do said readings walking around the building. So having get censored is going to implement a regulatory measure of temperature and humidity automatically for you. What we find common uses for these sensors are ambient room temperature and humidities. We also have temperature readings from within medication or dietary fridges or freezers, even connected to a hot water pipe after maybe a mixing valve or heating boilers. All right. Now, we, Maintenance Care or GenXscore, doesn't manufacture the sensors themselves. We've actually partnered with a high-end manufacturer called National Control Devices, also known as NCD. We have a discounted product page, as you can see. These are high-end, so they have a $240 US dollar price tag to each of them. Every single sensor is wireless. It runs off of a battery with approximate lifetime of about 10 years. So it's not like you're going to be changing these batteries every other day like other sensors. These are meant for a long-term solution for you. Now, what we're looking at here is the construction of it itself. So we've got a temperature humidity sensor with its receiving and sending wires. We've got our diode here, which can be placed into specific cups or areas. We also have what is said a modem. In our realm, it would be a repeater. So depending on the size of your facility, the signal may need to be boosted to get the readings to the gateway. All these sensors are actually emitting radio frequency, which is a lot more reliable than Wi-Fi. As we all know, sometimes Wi-Fi is not the greatest in certain areas of the facility. This allows for a controlled environment to always get those sensor readings. We have our water detection sensor as well. So this is going to detect some leaks if placed in correct areas near boilers, again, water tanks as well. This is our gateway. This is the only piece of equipment that's actually connected to the internet. It's placed very close to your modems. So this is where it's going to get the best signal. Every sensor can either be screwed into place or it can have metal feet and stuck onto specific pieces of equipment. The final one that we show is our temperature sensor, which has this very small diode that can be kind of fed through the fridge door, placed near the top, and it's going to give you the best readings. Okay, how this is done, we would, if you guys were to ever move forward with these sensors, we would walk you through this page, getting the sensors ordered for you. For the quoting process, what we require is actually a floor plan of your facility. So this is going to give us a great idea of obviously the X marks for where you want the sensors to be placed. It gives my team the ability to unravel and see if repeaters are needed or where the best placement are. Okay. If anyone is looking for a quote after this, you can reach out to us directly through our support line, our customer service as well, and you will be passed along to a product specialist like myself. Now, let's jump into the software itself. All right, so get censored. If you are maintenance care customers, it's going to look pretty similar to it. So we've got a very similar layout. We've got each sensor having its own settings and naming convention. Columns indicate different items. Again, these are all custom, so they can be moved. But we've got our alerts here. All right, so red alerts obviously means no good. This has been outside of the set parameters that you've set, the thresholds, and it is still outside of those thresholds. Green means great, and we have another option that's yellow, and typically my freezer is in that yellow state where it has dipped out of the set values and then it's gone back in. How you address these alerts is you can click them, you can get exactly the time that that reading has come in wrong. You can acknowledge alerts, which then would remove it. I can actually acknowledge all, and as you can see, it turned yellow there because it's back into the temperature setting, right? So we can acknowledge everything, and this is going to bring that alert back to the green zone for us. All right. Now, like I said, every sensor has its own settings, which you are able to customize. Each one is going to be labeled where it is placed. You can give descriptions of that. We can have our humidity, the water test, or the temperature, but your thresholds are set beneath as well. Now we can turn on and off the alerts if you're not as important, and the safe zones are determined as well. Now with the alerts that are sent out, we can have them just displayed on the screen as you saw, or we can have them escalated. So we can set specific time frames. So my freezer that I just changed, right? It dips out and comes back in. So if I set my 15 minutes, no alert will be sent. But if it is still out of the range in 15 minutes, my maintenance staff is going to get a notification. Now, we can escalate it from there. If said maintenance person doesn't get to this after an hour, a manager then can be looped in. And then if you are connected to maintenance care, you can also have a task automatically generated in that system, and then your maintenance staff is alerted that way as well. Now for the readings themselves, all you have to do is double click each sensor. It's going to give you a 24-hour span of what those readings come in as, and then you can see your minimum and maximum as well as your safe zone. So to identify specific times that they go out of the zone, you can actually click, drag, and drop. What that does is zooms in on the alert itself, showing that it just barely tipped underneath. So maybe this is just a case that I changed my settings a little bit so I'm not constantly getting those alerts, and works well. And you can always reset the zoom and it goes back to here. Now, for your staff, there's going to be different departments that are going to be utilizing these sensors. Some will be in the maintenance department, some will be in the kitchen, sometimes even other departments. Not everyone is going to want to have to log in and come into each one and read the sensors in this sense. What we've done is create dashboards, which I have to minimize to get to. What these dashboards are is just a link. So this link can be put on a mobile device, a tablet, and or a monitor just running in the background. They are fully customized. So if you have both departments running in conjunction, but you only want the kitchen staff to see their sensors, you group them together in your dashboard. You're able to modify the font, the alert colors as well. So instead of green and red, I could actually have everything blue and just the font itself changing the colors when they do go out of the set ranges. Now, if we just click them, again, we will get those readings, but this is great for, I like to use the kitchen example because sometimes the walk-in might be just left open during a delivery. So the alert comes in, I don't want to receive an email, a text, all of that. I can quickly come here and see where that issue was. Now, the point of sensors obviously is having a record of all of them in case you are audited by, let's say, the ministry. So we've got lots of different reporting capabilities for you. Uh, each one, we can isolate each sensor themselves, which you can then get your readings month by month if you'd like, right? Get your refreshed ones. It shows your dips. But what we do for long term, keeping your temperature readings, instead of having them, the sensors themselves actually give off readings every 15 minutes by default. So instead of keeping every single reading that's ever happened, we actually isolate when it's running optimally. So in this sense, I have it running, it keeps the record at midnight, it keeps it at 11 a.m., at 6 p.m., at midnight again. So you get 4 throughout the day, which gives the municipality the correct readings, showing that you aren't maybe neglecting an ambient room temperature, or all of the food in your fridge has gone bad, right? And that's the most important part. Now, essentially, this is Get Censored. It's a very simple software. You're getting your live updates throughout. You have your reporting capabilities, as well as those dashboards that really help out each department. If anyone does need a quote, they can reach out to us directly, or if there are any questions, again, go right to our support team.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. I maybe have one. Is if they have the reports, are they printable? Are the
Yes,
reports exportable, and how do you set that up?
yeah, so we can actually have, I should select a sensor here. We've got our export on the right here. This can then just be exported. I can, again, pick my months. Once it's
Okay,
submitted, it's going to create that in an Excel document or PDF, which then is sent to you, as you can see.
perfect. Thank you. Any more questions, people? It is, thank you for that, Phil. It is a rather short one because it's a pretty simple system to work with.
Mhm.
Any questions from the people that are attending this? Please write your questions in the Q&A section of the software, the Ring Central meeting, and I'll be addressing addressing the questions with Phil. Don't be shy. Go ahead.
You can also give me compliments. That's fine as well.
I have probably a supplemental question for you. If they choose to buy the sensors from the third party and then join us, how long does it take for this process to go live, let's say? How long would it take to get the sensors and then set them up once they receive them?
Yeah, so the process is, obviously we go through the blueprints and the floor plans to identify how many sensors repeaters are needed. Once we have purchased those with you online, when you do receive them, we schedule a setup call so we can make sure that everything's set up correctly. That is typically upon receiving the sensor, anywhere between 3 to 14 days, depending.
Excellent. Thank you about that. Okay, I got a couple of questions for you. From Fred. Does this system support controls where you can turn HVAC on and off? I'm
As in like a smart
Yeah, I think
sensor
it's
that,
more no, yeah, I think it's more related to being a smart sensor like we can have at
yep,
home.
yeah. Unfortunately, Get Censored doesn't have that capabilities. It's just receiving the temperature or humidity, or again, the water detection. It doesn't have the capability of sending a signal to turn a piece of equipment off.
Thank you. And it's working on radio frequency and not Wi-Fi, and that's probably the difference with what we have
Yep.
at home and what we would have in an institution, let's say.
Yeah,
Michael
exactly.
probably answered. I probably answered your question. Phil answered your question by. He says, if was it discussed if there is there a sensor for power loss or spikes?
At this current time, we do not have that, but we are in the works with NCD on a sensor that you would place it on top of the piece of equipment, and it monitors its constant runtime. So its vibrations, how much energy is being drawn from the grid, and if it is ever out of sync, it can send an automatic alert as well. So for this could be a generator. right? The generator kicks on, it's running off its pistons. If maybe one of those pistons is misfiring, an alert would be created due to the out of sync kind of nature of it, and that would be sent through. But that is in development still.
All right, thank you. Andrew, oh yeah, you'll definitely relay this info to his AMS. Thank you. Venue, join late. Can you show the sensor picture? Does it need to be connected via Wi-Fi? So can you go back to the NCD
Yeah,
maybe? Okay, so,
absolutely.
and Phil will answer your question rather quickly. Does
Yeah.
it need to be connected via Wi-Fi?
So each sensor, the only sensor or the only item that's connected to Wi-Fi is your gateway. All right. This is usually located right next to your internet modem, okay? Because this is going to be the strongest signal for it. The gateway is receiving radio frequencies from each sensor. So the sensors themselves do not connect to the internet. They relay all of the readings via radio frequency 900 megahertz to the gateway, which then the gateway pushes those into get censored software.
Thank you, Phil. And why do you think we use radio frequency instead of Wi-Fi in a, let's say, in a facility, a long-term care, senior care place, let's say, for example?
Yeah. Yeah. So for long-term cares, typically the building itself is very thick in walling concrete. So Wi-Fi signals are not the greatest throughout the facility, whereas radio frequencies move a lot easier and they're more reliable, and we get better readings from them instead of broken communication, whereas Wi-Fi maybe not connecting to room 202 on the opposite side of the facility, and you're only getting specific readings because of that. The radio frequency is much more reliable.
Thank you. Frank, how do you raise and lower humidity? You
So,
mean, go ahead.
yeah, each sensor, right, you can create is your in your edits. This is where you are setting your thresholds as well, and then that would then be able to raise or lower the humidity readings that are coming through. Now, if I do jump into this one, because it is a dual, you're going to get a dew point line as well. Sometimes this is a lot to look at, so you can actually kind of hone in on one or specific one, drop them, and show that the dew point has reached above, and then the humidity is in the safe zone as well.
Good. Excellent. Thank you for that. Any more questions? Go ahead. Feel free to ask. Oh, doesn't seem like it. Oh, I got
Yeah.
another one. Yes. What is the range of the devices? We have large properties. Would we require multiple gateways?
So how we go ahead with Get Censored is you would speak with a product specialist like myself. We would kind of discuss what you were looking for. You would supply me with floor plans, or if it's a huge, large facility that's across acreage, right? You're going to be giving me the blueprints. You would identify with just a simple X on where your sensors would be placed. You would send that to us, and then we would communicate with NCD, seeing what the best setup that is. If you did join late, there is something called a modem here, but it is a repeater. So this would just repeat the sensor readings from the temperature, humidity, from the water detection. If it is very far away, it would just repeat the signal so it is pushed to the gateway correctly. And that's done from us. We determine how many are needed, and then we confer with you before and send the quote over.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for the question, Orval. Um, any more questions? Go ahead. Well, doesn't seem like it. So, and, unless we get another one in the next minute or so, I thank you all for taking part in this one. Like I said, it was a shorter one because it is a simpler product than when we talk about maintenance care as a whole. Next, oh, I got another one. Okay, right before we left, what other anonymous asked, what other applications will these sensors work for? Curious because we have thermoforming processes and I would like to be able to monitor and record temperatures. Hmm. Bill?
That one
Oh, sorry.
sending that Nothing. Can you
Phil,
hear?
it's cutting off. Sorry.
Alrighty.
Okay,
Um,
there we go.
for the for the application, what I would suggest is reaching out to our IT, well, the support line. One of
Yeah.
the IT specialists is going to be able to kind of walk through the thermoforming processes and which sensor would be best suited for that, and if there is capabilities there.
Yes. So you can reach out to our support staff either by chat, email, or direct phone line.
Mhm.
Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 Eastern Standard. Thank you. Fred, how is this priced? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Aside
So,
from the
uh,
sensors price.
yeah, how the sensors are priced are listed here, right? This is a one-time purchase. You're buying the sensor one time from NCD. For Get Censored, it is a monthly subscription that we would be quoting. Typically, we're looking at around $75 per month for Get Censored, and then each sensor reading has an additional cost as well. And then based off how many sensors you do have, that is determined on what that rate could be. We're talking less than $10 per signal per sensor. But again, the best way to get pricing is we kind of sit down, identify how many sensors, what the setup would be, and then I can provide a quote with an accurate amount.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Frank says, I work at a big clinic and every room needs to be monitored. Does every room need a sensor?
For we've found in like our bread and butter is long-term care with maintenance care. So for the ambient room temperatures, what is usually expressed is there would be, depending on how large the facility obviously is, one sensor can read up to about 20-foot radius, and that is acceptable by the municipality. So maybe not every single room would need a sensor. Maybe we can get away with 4 or 5, but until I see the actual floor plan, I wouldn't be able to answer that with certainty.
Yes, and for by experience, I could add that they usually target some specific rooms for the
Mhm.
for this, and then get readings from the specific rooms for auditing purposes, and that
Yep.
usually does it for any either state or province survey. All right. Well, there was a lot of good questions in there. Um,
Mhm.
we're gonna leave you at that. There doesn't seem to be any more. So thank you for your time. Next webinar will be in March. Oh, there we go. Every time I say that, there's a question that pops up. All right. So Andrew, is there a sensor that will help detect water leaks or atmosphere pressure changes in the attic?
Would be our water detector sensor, right? And that can be placed right on the ground, and then it would detect moisture in that area. So that would be this sensor.
Thank you. Thank you all, and see you in March for another webinar. Thank you all. Bye bye.